It's been quite interesting because what we've seen is at least two of the deals which were restructured 2 years ago or less, coming back to the market, so for further restructuring. So, for example, SEAT, the Yellow Pages business in Italy, that was restructured through a scheme arrangement last September, and as of January it was already in default. And so that is now in a concordato procedure in Italy, and we're acting for SEAT. Similarly, another company that was restructured through a scheme of arrangement, in this case a Spanish company called Skadden, that again is going through another form of restructuring process, and in this case the Spaniards have gone with their concurso procedure, and so effectively we're seeing situations where companies were not prepared, where the banks were not prepared to write off debt, and would do anything they could to, use the expression, kick the can down the road, have found that within a relatively short space of time they have to do another restructuring. And I think that is a trend which is likely to continue. Well, if you're looking at doing a second restructuring, having spent very often a very substantial amount of money in trying to do the scheme, and in fact actually doing the scheme, the pressure on directors of an Italian company or a Spanish company to pay heed to the laws of their own jurisdiction is very, very high. And the idea that they would then go out and try and do, say, a second scheme in those circumstances is something which most directors properly advised by local lawyers would struggle with. The reason that they didn't do a scheme, they didn't do a concurso or concordato the first time around still remain. There are some fairly severe limitations with these procedures, and my colleague Dominic talked about some of those this morning. These procedures, the local legislature tries to come up with a process which looks good, but the scheme and the Chapter 11 process rely very heavily on the fact that you've got not only the right law but the right judges, the right lawyers, and the right financial advisors around to make it all work, and that there's a very settled system. In each of the cases that I was talking about earlier, there are issues which still need to be addressed to make it work in a really coherent, comprehensible way. It's difficult to see there being a major issue at this stage because money's still pretty cheap. The high yield market has been, as evident from the panels that we're speaking today, are still wide open and working well. So there are ways of refinancing your debt, but there are sectors which are under severe pressure. Shipping being perhaps the most obvious one, and others where the technology is just being overtaken by events, so Yellow Pages and things like that as well. We will always see some of those, and so we'll definitely see those in the next 6 to 12 months, that continuing trend.